I remember the first time I told my family I was going to dedicate my life to wild plant medicine. I was barely 20, eyes burning with a mixture of passion and naive certainty. I had spent years poring over ancient texts, wandering city streets at dawn, foraging in abandoned lots and neglected parks. I believed in the healing power of these wild, overlooked plants. More than that, I knew it was my purpose. But my family? They looked at me like I just announced I was going to join the circus. "Are you serious?" My sister scoffed, crossing her arms. "You're chasing weeds and calling it medicine? That's just primitive nonsense. You're wasting your life, and honestly, you're embarrassing us." My father shook his head, voice thick with disappointment. "Oh, you're smarter than this. You have a degree. Why throw it all away on dirt and leaves?" They laughed. Even my mother, who once used herbal remedies herself, dismissed my dreams as childish fantasy. "You'll never be taken seriously. You'll fail, and then everyone will see what a joke you are." It was brutal. Their words sank deep, echoing like a chorus of doubt I couldn't drown out. I was told I'd never make a difference, that I was chasing an impossible dream rooted in superstition. I was mocked and dismissed as a fool, an embarrassment to the family. But I couldn't turn away from what I knew in my bones. I left home that day with my heart heavy, but my resolve unbreakable. I knew I was onto something real, something that could heal communities, that could reclaim lost wisdom. I dedicated myself to studying wild plants, to understanding their healing properties, despite the ridicule. I faced rejection after rejection. Mainstream science mocked my methods, dismissing them as primitive, outdated. I became an urban forager and herbalist, often working in obscurity, surrounded by skepticism. For years, I was the outsider. I scavenged in alleyways, turned abandoned lots into makeshift gardens, and worked tirelessly to prove that these wild plants weren't just weeds. They were medicine. I started hosting community workshops, teaching people how to identify and use local herbs safely. Slowly, word spread. People in the neighborhood began to see the truth I'd always known. Healing isn't about fancy laboratories or expensive pills. Sometimes, all it takes is a handful of wild herbs and a willingness to listen to nature's quiet voice. Then came the betrayal. A trusted colleague, someone I'd shared my research with, who'd claimed to believe in my work, stole my findings, published them as his own, and discredited everything I'd built. The academic world ridiculed me, branding me an amateur. My reputation shattered. I could have given up, but instead I doubled down. I realized that real change wasn't about accolades or recognition. It was about the people I served, about community healing. I pivoted. I built a network of urban gardens, training others to forage sustainably and use plants medicinally. I created a community-centered approach, free clinics, herbal workshops, healing circles. My work gained traction, especially among those marginalized by mainstream medicine. I was invited to speak at conferences, but my focus remained on the grassroots. My methods were unconventional, but they worked. People's health improved, their lives transformed. Years later, I was invited back to my hometown. I hadn't seen my family in a long time, not since I'd left with nothing but my conviction. I returned not as the foolish dreamer they mocked, but as someone whose work had blossomed into something monumental. I had turned neglected land into thriving ecosystems, urban jungles teeming with life. I had healed communities, one plant at a time. My reputation was unassailable now, built on resilience, truth, and a deep belief that healing begins with nature and community. The day I arrived, I could see their eyes, curious, cautious, a flicker of recognition. I took them on a walk through the transformed land I'd cultivated, an oasis amid the concrete. The yard was bursting with wild herbs, flowering plants, and medicinal gardens. Children played among the lush greenery, elders sat peacefully, and neighbors gathered round, sharing stories and remedies. Then I asked my family to follow me to the main garden. Their faces betrayed a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. I pointed to a large, thriving patch of echinacea, elderberry, and wild mint, plants they'd once dismissed as useless weeds. "This land," I said softly, "used to be barren, just like your doubts about me." But I believed in what I knew was possible. These plants, they're medicine. More than that, they're proof that resilience and faith can transform even the most overlooked into something powerful. And then I turned to my father. "You doubted me," I said, voice trembling with emotion. "You told me I was wasting my life, that I was an embarrassment. But look at what I've built. Not just for myself, but for our community. I've proved that what you mocked was sacred. I am not the fool you thought I was. I am the healer you once laughed at." The silence that followed was thick with emotion. My father's eyes shimmered, and for a moment I saw his defenses crack. My mother's face was wet with tears, finally understanding that her daughter had been fighting against more than just skepticism. She'd been fighting for her purpose. In that moment, I felt something shift inside me. All the pain, all the rejection had led to this undeniable truth. I had reclaimed my voice, my purpose, and my worth. I had turned ridicule into respect, mockery into admiration. I had proved that resilience, rooted in authenticity and community, could rewrite stories, even those written by doubt. As I looked at my family, I realized that true success isn't just about accolades or recognition. It's about transforming pain into purpose, rejection into resilience, and doubt into undeniable proof of one's worth. I had become the living testament that even the most dismissed dreams, when fueled by passion and perseverance, could blossom into something extraordinary. And so I stood there, surrounded by green vitality and the people I loved, knowing that I had finally come home, not just to a place, but to myself. And in that homecoming, I found the greatest victory of all, the courage to be unapologetically true to my purpose, no matter what anyone said. That's the real medicine, believing in yourself when no one else does. That's the healing that truly